All right, let's call this meeting to order. So we can jump right into our agenda and start with item number 2, any public appearances?
Doesn't look like it. I haven't gotten any emailed questions, and there's nobody attending and nobody at City Hall.
All right, moving right along, then we can move to item number 3 on the agenda, approval of the minutes, and we will need a motion to approve the minutes from last month.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on the February draft minutes? All right, then we can go to a vote. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
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 Opposed, no? And motion passes. Moving right along to item number 4 on the agenda, the treasurer's report. And we've got 2 parts here, the January financial overview and the January financial register.
Okay, and do we want to do these together?
Oh, we probably should do them separate, shouldn't we?
Okay. I don't know that it matters. On the overview, so we're looking at January. Everything is very boring, except I would like to give a shout out to the staff who are ordering books, because in account 387 collection, we spent over $17,000, which is real hard to do in January. Typically, that's one of our lower months because things kind of haven't kicked off. I think that's probably a result of things getting pushed back for publication in 2020. But that's a good, healthy amount. So we're starting the year off right. I'm real happy about that. The other thing I would note is that the restricted account balances will be updated next month. We are in the middle of the audit. The city is in the middle of the audit right now. So we should have some final numbers, and those will be updated next month. So that's all I have on the overview. Does anybody have questions?
So we'll need a motion to approve the overview.
Motion to approve.
And I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on the overview? Okay, we can move to vote. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no? Okay, motion is passed, and we'll move on to item 4B, the financial register for January.
Okay, so we've got a lot of things in yellow here. Most of them were approved at our last meeting. So we had some higher payments that we typically make in January. So Biblioteca for our service contract, our South Central fee, our elevator contract, and our fire detection contract. One thing I wanted to note in account 350, the electrostatic sprayer from NASCO is actually an expense that the Friends are going to reimburse us for. So we requested, this is our second fogging gun. It is much easier to use and takes a lot less cleaning. So it's better to have for the staff to use kind of at short notice than the one that Kevin uses, I think, every other day. And we had the opportunity to buy it. They were in very high demand and they were hard to get. And we all of a sudden got access to one. So we snapped it up and asked the Friends to reimburse us. I think that's all. It really stands out to me. Any questions?
If no questions, then we'll need a motion to approve the January financial register, please.
Motion to approve.
I will second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on the register?
Can I add one more thing
Yes.
that I forgot to add, even though it was written in my notes? The items that are highlighted in yellow, the city has changed their ordinance regarding the amount of money we can spend without approval of the treasurer. So this is actually really good news for Ben. From now on, we only need to get permission for purchases over 5,000 and under 20,000. So anything is under 5,000 now, we'll just go ahead and spend, and you'll see it on the report. It won't be highlighted in yellow. and we won't have to get permission for it. So it just is going to move things along a little bit faster and less work for the treasurer. Okay, that's really all I have.
A thumbs up from Ben. Okay, we need to then vote on the motion. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
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 Opposed, no? And the motion passes. Okay, moving along to item 5 on the agenda, unfinished business. Not this team.
Nope.
Business.
We do not like unfinished business.
And moving then along to item 6, new business. We do have some new business to discuss. So Wendy, is this you?
Yeah, so I'll take the first one. This is for Stephen Arnold. This is a memo that I wrote to everyone about extending his term. I reached out to him a couple of months ago and asked if he would be willing to extend his term on the board and as the president. I thought it would be helpful to all of us to have some continuity in leadership as we go through the reopening process. And he very graciously agreed, as long as everyone else agrees. This is a departure from our bylaws, where we do state that 2 terms is the limit, so it would just be a 1-year extension, but it needs to be approved by the board because it is not something that we normally do.
Wendy, you said you sent out a memo on this?
Yes, it was in the packet.
I didn't see a packet, and I did not see.
So this is the board packet that online with the agenda.
Okay.
So it should be right under the register.
I don't have anything to click on, but that's
Okay.
fine.
Are you in the 51-page document for the packet that's through the city website?
I am on the agenda where it says board member team extension. And then it says one team, Arnold team extension. That's fine.
You might need to go back to the city page so you can click on the agenda, or you can click on the agenda packet.
Okay.
If you click on the packet, you should get a 51-page document that has all of the policies and the reports in it.
Okay.
And
Thank you.
on that document, it's page 15.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, given that you haven't had a chance to see it, Toby, Wendy, I wonder if you wouldn't mind maybe just not reading it, but just paraphrase again
Sure.
the contents.
Yeah, so I'm requesting that we make an exception to the library's bylaws by allowing Stephen Arnold to extend his term on the library board by 1 calendar year. So he came on in 2015. He served 2 terms, so typically his term would be over this spring. But because of the extenuating circumstances of the COVID-19 pandemic, I believe it would be benefit to the library and the board to have continuity in leadership as we navigate reopening. We all hope that process goes smoothly, but we can't predict how it's going to go. And having a seasoned board president to handle any issues that may arise would be a smart decision. Also, Deb McGrath's term is ending, so we will be adding a new member this spring.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So do you need a motion to approve of that?
Yeah,
You will.
we're going to ask for a motion to approve of a topic for me. But yes, I do, Toby.
So I will motion to approve the extension of Stephen Arnold's term.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on this topic?
I just want to say thank you, Stephen. You rock.
Oh, thank you, Ann.
I agree.
Phil and Lisa don't get to vote, thankfully. So. Okay, thank you for that. We'll need to vote on the motion. All in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, no. And the motion is passed. Thank you. So that
Thank you.
you are welcome. That wraps up item 6A1, and we are moving on to item 6B and have several policies to review today.
We do. We've had kind of a break from policies for a little while, so we decided that we needed to bring them back. And Lisa is our electronic services librarian, and she is going to take us through the first little section here. And we should vote on each of these separately. All right, Lisa, take it away.
Okay, so the first policy that we have is our meeting room policy. We didn't have a lot of changes to this one. There are a couple points of clarification that we added to this first page here. So the first point of clarification that we added was that the library reserves the right to close access to these rooms as necessary. So as we're looking at reopening, so this policy clearly states that we have priority with reservations and programming and things like that, but we've been using it as an extension for just an example, like we've had extra cleaning supplies as we go through this pandemic, and we are also using it for quarantining some of our items. So just as we go forward, we wanted to add that point of clarification that we have in there, also for maintenance or anything like that. And then under the description of rooms, we added this point where it can accommodate up to 145 people seated auditorium style. We've had some confusion with people with that number where they think that that number of people will fit in there comfortably with tables in there, and that's not the case. So we wanted to kind of clarify that point as well. And that's all the changes we had to this one. So if anyone has questions.
So I think we're gonna vote on each one individually. So we will need a motion to approve the updated meeting room policy.
I'll motion to approve it.
I will second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion or questions for Lisa? Hearing none, we can vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed, no? Motion passes. And we can move along to 6B1B, 3D printer policy.
Yes, okay, so this one obviously covers our 3D printers that we have here at the library in this service. So we didn't have any changes to this policy. It's been working well for us. We even have printed a few things while in quarantine and people have gotten it through curbside, so it still covers our needs. So I'll take questions if anyone has any.
No questions, we will need a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
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 Opposed, no? Motion is passed. And moving along, 6B1C, computer internet use policy.
All right, so this one, as it states, covers our computer and internet use, specifically here in the library. So it's worked really well for us. We haven't had a lot of changes recently in the last couple of years that I recall. Just basically spelling out legal terms and what is appropriate use in the library. So no changes again this year.
No changes. All right, we'll need a motion for this as well.
I'll make a motion to pass, to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, let's vote. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no? Motion is passed.
I am assuming that the dates on these at the bottom will be changed.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Moving along to the next policy review, this is item 6B1D, social media policy.
So this one obviously covers the library social media use, our Facebook and Twitter is what we're using currently. And we don't have any changes. We did expand some of our use, adding more programming and things like that to Facebook, but it's still covered here and it's also covered by city policy too. So.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Thank you. Moved and seconded. No changes, any discussion? We can vote. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no? Motion is passed. And the last one under electronic services, so this is item 6B1E, wireless access policy.
Okay, so this one, we do have a small change. So this last year, as you all know, we added our external access point to the outside of the building. So it expanded our wireless service to the entire parking lot, whereas before it was really more within the building. So we just added the point of clarification that the access is available to everyone in the building and throughout our parking lot, as well as stating that the signal strength may vary both within and within the parking lot. So we just wanted to cover that additional service that we've provided with this policy.
That's great. We'll need a motion.
I'll motion to approve.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Okay, we'll go to vote. All in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion is passed. Okay, we're moving along to 6B2, access services, and point A here, circulation policy.
Yeah, we've got the circulation policy here covers borrowing, patron accounts, loan periods, kind of the in and out of items that come through here. I think this is probably the policy that's been updated the most throughout the history of the library, but we don't really have a lot of changes this time. There were, on the second page, we had the first correction was the addition of an Oxford comma to to follow the formatting for the rest of the policies that was missed at some point in time. And under holds, we just changed the spelling of the link cat system to properly list how that acronym is spelled out in the South Central websites for the online catalog. But otherwise, we didn't have any changes to it beyond that. So, yeah, did anyone have any questions about the policy or?
You all need a motion, please?
I'll motion to approve.
I will second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion on the circulation policy? We'll move to a vote. All in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, no. The motion is passed. Okay, item 6B2B, privacy of library records and library use policy.
Yeah, this is the policy that covers the right to privacy that people have for their library accounts, kind of the steps that we go through for access to accounts when people need to get access to borrowing histories and stuff like that for the specific instances with parents and children and so forth that way. We didn't have any changes to this. The laws haven't changed on library confidentiality or anything like that. So we didn't have any additions or changes to this policy. But did anyone have any questions about how it stands right now?
Okay, we have a motion, please.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? We'll move to a vote. All in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, no. Okay, motion's passed. We'll go on to 6B2C, theft of library materials.
Yeah, so this is another one that's mostly governed by the state statutes of theft. That way, we weren't sure if we were going to have to update this for the way we've been providing curbside services, but the way it was written originally was actually universal enough to still cover. It really talks about removing materials, but doesn't make specific mention as to where that is. It's anywhere on library property, and it's still universal enough to fit. So we didn't have any changes to this one, and likewise, the laws haven't changed for it at that point. So, yeah, so we didn't have any additions to this one, but happy to answer any questions if anyone has any.
I'll motion to approve.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion or questions for Phil? Okay, we can go to a vote. All in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion is passed. Okay, item 6B2 B, Community Bulletin Board Policy.
Yeah, so this policy covers the sort of shared bulletin board that we have in the entryway for the library, and kind of lists out the criteria that we use for posting our own programs, but then obviously also what other programs we can put up here. This is one that has changed quite a bit over the years, but we didn't have any changes for it right now. It just, we didn't see anything that needed to be added to it. But again, I'm happy to answer questions if anyone has questions about it.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Seconded.
All right, moved and seconded. Any discussion? Go to the vote. All in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, no. And the motion is passed. One more policy. So this is item 6B2E, laptop checkout policy.
Yeah, this is the policy we have for use of library laptops in the building. It's advantageous for patrons to be able to set up in different areas, to be able to have a little bit more uninterrupted time. Something that we're definitely happy to offer, but we didn't have any changes to it since the last time it's come through either. Yeah, it's as written, it still seems to cover what we needed to cover. So as I said before, I'm happy to answer any questions on it, but we didn't have any additions or anything. So
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any discussion? Okay, we'll go to a vote. All in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, no. And the motion has passed. So that wraps up the policy reviews. Just a quick comment before we move on to 6C. Thanks, Phil and Lisa. I still think it's really important, even when there's not a lot of changes, for us to have this discipline every year. And it's kind of cool actually to see how durable these policies have been, given this crazy year that we just went through. So that's. I
was going to say the same thing. I think not needing a lot of changes means we've got good policies.
Yeah.
And it is very helpful. I know it's a lot of like not changing things, but it's very helpful for the staff when they have to enforce these to have a current date on it. So thank you for taking the time to read them and go through them to make sure that we're all up to date.
That's great. Yeah, it speaks to the work that went in to all these policies in the early days for you all, which I know was not a small thing. Very good. Okay.
Lisa and Phil get to go now.
Oh,
Okay.
If they want to, they can.
Well, thank you.
thanks everybody. So,
Thank you.
thank you. Have a good evening.
You
thanks,
too.
And on to item 6C, the 2020 annual city report.
So this is our fun city or annual report. You know, we did the one last month that was not the fun one. That's the state one that is really much more about numbers and less about kind of the fun stuff that we're doing. Jenny gets full credit for this. This is her baby. She gets a lot of information from the managers about what's happened over the year. And then she puts this all together for us so that it sounds like one person wrote it. And I have to mention, we got called out and complimented this year when the city was sending out directions to all the departments about doing these reports. They complimented us and said that it was a good one to look at for an example. So I don't know that there's anything that is surprising to any of you. I think you probably know everything that's in this report already. But kind of fun to see some of the pictures and programs that happened when we were still doing that. We've got some photos even from curbside services, which I think is important to note. Yeah. Any questions about this?
It looks great. It's really cool to see.
I think we were kind of afraid when we started this because it was such a weird year, we wouldn't have anything worthy of putting a picture in here. And then it was really nice to see that we did have some good stuff to put in there. I think it's interesting to see, for people to see, like we had to disconnect the sorter. So you can see the sorter that Kevin and Dan built us kind of at a moment's notice to catch things without putting them into the sorter. So it kind of shows you and also I love Kevin and Dan building the book barns. The things that we never thought we would have to do as a library. It's just been all kinds of stuff this year. So good growth opportunity for everyone. Jenny, is there anything you want to add about your report? All right. So I don't know that we need to, well, we should probably approve it just to say that everybody has seen it.
Okay, then we'll ask for a motion, please.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Probably not. Okay, we can go to a vote. All in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion is passed. Okay, we are on agenda item 6D, Nominating Committee.
Okay, so we need a nominating committee. And it's kind of an easy year to sign up for this because Stephen's already agreed to be the president, so you don't have to talk anybody into that position. But we'll need, I think we put 3 people on this. Did we do 2 last year for some reason? I think we need 3.
I think it was 3 last year because I think it was me, Ben, and Chris last year.
Okay. Thank you for your memory. I can, from year to year, things drop out of my brain. Okay, so we just need 3 volunteers to be on the nominating committee.
And Wendy, could you share what will be their job this year?
So what we'll need to do is find people on the board that are willing to be the vice president, probably with the eye to moving up into president after that, and then a treasurer. So the vice president is responsible for running the meetings if the president can't be here and sort of stepping in if for some reason we need something that the president is unable to handle at the time. And the treasurer needs to approve purchases that are between $5,000 and $20,000 that aren't going to the full board. That in this day and age generally involves just an email or a signature that is scanned back to us. When we meet in person, it generally means that I shove a bunch of papers in front of you at the beginning of the meeting to sign off on. It's not too bad, is it, Ben?
Not terrible at all.
Good.
All right, I will join the nominating committee.
Excellent. Thank you.
I will as well.
Thank you. All right.
And what's that? I think I see Chris's hand raised.
I can help if you need it.
Sounds good. Thank you. All right, and we should probably vote on approving the nominating committee.
All right, we need a motion to approve the nominating committee.
I'll motion to approve the nominating committee.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Then we'll go to a vote. All in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, no. Okay, motion has passed. Thank you. And that will take us on then to agenda item 8, President Report. You know, the only thing that I wanted to share today is that we're moving into, I think, this next phase of the pandemic or coming out of the pandemic. And I think there will be likely increasing pressure for changes and loosening things up for the library, as particularly schools go back in session and are doing more surrounding Madison in particular, and now Madison is making progress there as well. So I think that's going to naturally trickle to an impact on how the library and Wendy needs to think about what we're doing. So I don't know what the answers are, but obviously I think part of our role will be here to help support Wendy and the team as they work through that. And there's, likely going to be, I think, some probably trial and error and maybe some fits and starts. So I just, for me personally, I'm trying to get myself mentally prepared to move into this next phase that, my hope is that it's all positive and it's all sort of shows progress. but it's been a, up and down year. And I think when you've managed it really well, but we're moving into a new phase and it's going to be, I think, ongoing challenges for the team, and just wanted to reinforce that and our role in kind of helping work through and support and problem solve with you as you do that.
Thank you.
So that's it for the president report. We can move on to item 9, library director report.
So we might as well just jump into the reopening discussion, because I think that's what is on everybody's minds. And I'll tell you that I have talked this to death with the managers, with the Dane County directors, South Central directors, city administration. I feel like I've been doing very little other than speculating about when things are going to get better, when we can get vaccines, all of that. We had a Dane County director meeting on last Thursday in the morning, and it unfortunately was before they announced Group 1C. We were all very hopeful. So we had met with Joe Parisi and hoped to get librarians added to Group 1B. That didn't happen. And I think we were all really counting on librarians being in Group 1C so that we could start to get vaccinations. And that did not happen in Dane County. So it's all based on medical conditions, which is what the state is recommending. I can tell you that there are a lot of counties surrounding us that did approve librarians, either as part of educators or they just are doing it. So we've got people in Sauk County getting vaccinated. We've got people in Jefferson County. And in Dane County, as a librarian, you are not eligible until May 1st. I think we've probably got a handful of people that will get vaccinated starting next week. They moved that up to March 22nd for the medical conditions. I'm not allowed to ask for any of this. I'm not allowed to ask for any of this. If people are getting vaccinated, if they have been vaccinated, or what group they fit into. So that is complicating things as well. So having talked about all of that, as soon as the May 1st date came out, we started throwing around like, how long do we have to wait? Like, are people going to get the 1-shot vaccine, the 2-shot vaccine? At what point are you really protected? I feel like if we could do anything we wanted in the world, like I would love to wait until after the 4th of July, because that gives everybody 2 weeks to get their first shot and then 4 weeks to get a second shot and 2 weeks to get full immunity. I think that is way too long. I don't think any of us are comfortable with that. So I think that we took that off the table pretty early. We talked about going mid-May because then maybe everybody could at least have 1 shot, which gives you a lot of immunity. That's not a bad place to be. But then thinking like it's the whole state that is eligible on May 1st. There's not a chance we're all going to get it. And that's a Saturday. I don't know why they do this on a Saturday. Like there's not a chance that we're going to get everybody vaccinated in the next week. So the compromise that we came up with, and Misty Dodge, who's the acting administrator at the city, was really helpful to me in kind of talking this through, and also with her perspective about what will happen with cities opening their buildings, which I don't have dates for. I can't share that, but our goal would be June 2nd to open to the public, and that would line up nicely with what the city is planning. When Dane County library directors had talked, everybody was kind of aiming for sometime in April or May to open. I've already gotten a couple of emails from people that now that the May 1st date came out are pushing that back. But it is very much based on your community's level of comfort, your library board, your staff level of comfort. I think where I'm sitting right now is I couldn't stand the thought that we were willing to be closed for 13 months to protect the staff and the patrons, but we're not willing to do it for 14 or 15 months. I feel like we've kind of committed to the road that we're taking, and it would be very difficult at this point to tell the staff that we're going to open without them having had access to a vaccine. So that is my suggestion, is that we aim for June 2nd. What we would be looking at is a kind of hybrid model of curbside alternating days with in-person days. So I think we'd start with 3 of each. So we'd be kind of continuing the hours that we've got now, which are very close to our normal hours. So we would do, what is it? I've got 1,000 notes here I can look at. Monday, Wednesday, Friday would be in person. And that would include holds, pickup, browsing. It wouldn't include very much furniture, so it's not going to be sitting and hanging out at the library. It's not going to be study rooms or meeting rooms, but you have access to the building. we would ask people to, and computers. Computers is a big thing that we would like to get people back to, and Wi-Fi. So we would have some furniture set up for Wi-Fi, but not a lot. And we would ask people to limit their visit to 60 minutes. And I think we would have to really watch. I don't know if curbside demand is going to go down immediately. There are a lot of people that really like curbside and really want us to do it forever, which I don't think is reasonable. But I think that we could, as we see curbside orders, if they go down right away, then we could shift over into more in-person days.
Do you anticipate, based on other libraries that have opened, a rush on the facility? And do we need to limit the number of people coming into the building?
I think I've been worried about that and what I have heard. But this is, again, libraries that were like open last summer. So a little bit different situation. I think people were a little bit less antsy to get out. And most of them said they were not having to enforce numbers. But then some of them that are reopening now are going to have pretty low numbers. We've got a big building. So I think our capacity, when we calculated, Kevin and I did a lot of calculating with a spreadsheet that DPI shared last summer about, so you take out the stacks and furniture and rooms that are closed off. And I think to be at 25% capacity, it was like 89 people. So I think we've got plenty of room. I think we would have to really watch for bottlenecks. So I think self-checks and holds are going to be places where people kind of get congested. So we'll have to be, I think we'll have staff around constantly to kind of keep an eye on that. We are planning also on having, at least to start, I don't know how long we'll have to do this, having a greeter position that would be in the vestibule, handing out masks and handing out the policy. So we are planning COVID policy that will be coming to you guys next month to approve, and that's going to include mask wearing, social distancing, that you can't congregate at the library. Just kind of enforces the quick use model.
Okay.
Yeah. What other questions do you have? Oh, the other thing I wanted to say is if it turns out, like I keep hearing that we're going to have more vaccine than we need any minute now. Like it's been short supply. They've had more people to vaccinate than they could. And I keep hearing that that's going to kind of turn around. I don't know if it will. If it does, and we can get people vaccinated sooner, great. You know, I copied you guys on an email that I sent to the staff with a couple of different opportunities that we're exploring. It's still really difficult because like the Wanakee Library is going to try to have a clinic, but it's only going to be open to people that are in 1C. So it's not going to be most of our staff. But if things would turn around and all of a sudden they open it up, you know, they backed up the 1C group from the 29th to the 22nd. If they are able to back things up from May 1st, we are more than willing and can be ready to go earlier. So that's where I'm sitting right now. I would welcome any discussion. If you have strong feelings, I think Stephen's right on that people are getting more antsy to get out. We're getting more people that are asking when we're going to be open. I will say that in the last week, the CDC, the WHO, and Dr. Fauci said, don't open up too early. Like we don't want to ruin the progress that we've made. So I'm willing to stay the course and take the abuse. But I think that I need you guys on board with that as well, because, you know, there is a chance that phone calls and emails are going to make it to you. And I want to make sure that you can, in good conscience, back up what we're doing.
June 2nd would put you right around school ending as well, right? So there'd be another potential pressure on you guys.
Yes, I think with the 60-minute model, we'd be okay. It would also allow us to let people register for summer reading. So that actually, I think, is a benefit. And people can pick up their prizes in person without having to arrange it through curbside. So in a way, I think that really works in our favor.
Yeah, I think that's going to be good.
Yeah. Randy, you had a question?
Well, you're not alone in taking those calls and those emails, as you know.
Yeah.
I will receive them as well, but I am in support of whatever decision this board makes or you make. I have been all along, and I totally agree with you. So you have my support.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know this is very early, very premature, but do you have any thoughts yet on summer programming?
Yes. So we're going to use Beanstack again for the summer reading program, which is what we did last year. But I think we're going to combine it with the ability to pick up like a reading sheet that the kids really like to fill out. But I think the directions on the sheet this time will be like log your progress in Beanstack and then pick up your prize, so that we're not sitting at the desk taking papers from people and filling everything out for them, which has happened a lot in the past. Programming, I don't think we're going to be back into group programming until I would say fall. So we are booking a couple of performers that will be online. We haven't done a lot of that. I don't know that people are having huge success with it, but I feel like we've got to give it a try. I'd rather do that than not offer, bigger programs in the summer. I think we'll probably also do a little bit more with the take-home crafts. That's been such a big hit with people. And it's fairly easy for our staff to put together and pretty low cost. So I think maybe we'll start doing that. We're doing it once a week for kids right now. So we may look at upping that frequency as well.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other concerns, comments? Again, I appreciate that you've been so supportive this whole time. It's made my job a whole lot easier, and it's made the staff feel, I think, very confident about how things are going.
I guess the one question I would have is how many library interactions actually would meet the CDC criteria for a significant exposure, i.e., within 6 feet, unmasked for a duration greater than 15 minutes?
I think they won't, because we will be wearing masks and we will be putting up, we've got barriers at the desks. But I think you'd be surprised at how long people want to stay here. And I think one of the top concerns of staff is that they're going to see a lot of patrons that have missed us and we have missed them, and they're going to want to chat. They're going to have reference questions. So we'll prevent it from ever happening. But I think if we didn't limit things, it would be more than you would expect. Toby? Oh, you're muted.
Sorry. Is an hour needed for these people? Can you cut that to a half hour or 45 minutes? What's
So
your
we had
thought
actually,
there?
it's funny that you asked that. We had started thinking it would be 30 minutes, but 60 minutes if you're on a computer. And then we thought that seems kind of unfair, because if you're doing one thing, it's more important than if you're choosing books, and that doesn't seem right. I also think with 30 minutes, we're going to be chasing people around a lot. And I think if you have time to browse the collection in a somewhat leisurely fashion, and you don't feel like you're being run in and out, that it's going to make people's experience better, but it's also going to kind of fulfill that, like, I want to get out of the house and I want to go somewhere. A lot of the people that we're hearing from don't really need anything from us that they can't get right now. I think I've shared this with you before, but like, they just want somewhere to go. They want somewhere to be. They want to hang out somewhere that's not home. They're tired of being at home, and I absolutely get that. But I think I think 60 minutes will allow us to get people in and out without being too draconian about it. All right, if nobody else has questions.
Maybe just
then,
one final question. I think this is what I heard, but just validate it for me. Basically, our approach is we're not going to open up access until library staff has had the opportunity to get vaccinated.
Correct.
Once that takes place, then you'll start to see the library start to open back. Initially limited access, but working towards.
Yes, I'm really hopeful that we can move away from express services and just go back to normal services by the end of the summer, maybe. I mean, I think that depends on how many people get vaccinated, like at what point we're talking about herd immunity being remotely possible.
Yeah.
And also, I'll say, if we start with express services and we feel like it's not as crucial as we felt it was, it's hard to know going into this. I think even coming back for curbside, people were really anxious about it, and then it turned out to be fine. So if we go into this with express services and feel like this is more policing, limiting than we need to do, then we can back off of that sooner. I think everybody in this building wants things back to normal as fast as possible, as long as it's safe. So I don't want people to think that we're just refusing to open until everything is safe and 100%. It's not gonna be. I think we all know that. Like, things are not gonna go back to absolute normal for, a long time, if ever. So I think as soon as we can figure out what the new normal is gonna be and do as much as we can to be safe, that we can move back into normal. I think what's hard is that what feels like normal or what feels like safe is so different between different businesses, different industries. I think people try to compare us to retail, which is, or restaurants. We get that too. And it's, a restaurant is probably in grave danger of shutting down if they don't have constant revenue. We're not in that situation, thankfully. So I think we've got a little bit more leeway. But that's something that we'll have to be explaining to people from now until June 2nd.
And I think it's also hard to make, or it's not hard, but it's it can be kind of awkward to make that point to people. Like, we have this funding, whether or not we're
right. So I think we have to focus on safety. I've already written up a blurb that I would be happy to share with any of you if you feel like you need it, about why we're making the decisions that we're making.
It would be nice if you would share that in case we do get emails.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay.
It might be a little difficult too in the setting of schools opening. So the teachers will be vaccinated now.
Right.
But none of the kids are vaccinated. And the expectation is that the spacing between the children is going to be decreased even to 3 feet. So there will be a difficult disconnect to explain.
I don't disagree with you.
Yeah, that's a good point. The only thought I have about it is that there's still options. People don't have to go back in person. They can be virtual or go back and forth. So that's, I guess, one counterpoint to consider when we have to talk this through with people.
And starting March 22nd, what they're considering to be a medical condition is going to be pretty minimal. One of the criteria even is a BMI greater than 25, which, is a large group of people.
It is. I will say we have a shockingly healthy staff. It appears to me. Again, I can't ask. I'm not allowed. So I'm not collecting that information.
So that prohibition from asking means that you can't say, or set a goal like, will open when a certain percentage of staff are vaccinated, right?
Right.
You can only
I will say that our staff are pretty open about sharing things, and I would say most of my staff have expressed a real interest in the vaccine. I think that's another thing that we're not really allowed to say, like, are you going to get vaccinated? We're certainly not requiring it.
Yeah.
I think we probably have more information than some workplaces, just because I think we all get along and share information. But yeah,
we can't base a policy on vaccination numbers because we're not allowed to know them.
Right. I think HIPAA would strongly disagree with that.
And there's no way to do an anonymous survey to figure that out? Like, they wouldn't have to identify themselves?
We could try that. At a certain, after a certain amount of time when we think people have had, yeah, I would absolutely be willing to do that. Okay, then I'm going to move forward with June 2nd. Thank you for your support. Moving along in the library director report, I sent you all an email about quarantining items. We did reduce our quarantine from 4 days to 2 days. I think that's probably still very much on the cautious end. I know Madison Public Libraries is no longer quarantining at all. I think we've been on the cautious end of this all along, and I don't mind that. I think stepping down from 4 to 2 and then from 2 to 0 eventually is an easier pathway for staff, just to kind of get comfortable with it. I am really hopeful that we can get that down to 0. And I think it's just going to take time for people to see that other libraries that are taking away quarantine are doing just fine. But I would really like to have the sorter reattached by the time we reopen. We rely on that a lot, and it would be much easier to get back to some kind of normal if that's working. So that's my hope. We'll see how it goes. Everybody's been on board with it so far. Chris, I agree with you about fomites, but the realm study that came out of Ohio did show that and this is in a lab setting, so I don't think you can really, this is not day to day, but they showed that the virus did live on a hardback book, a softback book, a plastic cover, and a plastic bin for 6 days. So I think it's getting staff comfortable with the practice of, you're not licking the books, you're washing your hands, things are going to be fine. We just need to take baby steps to get there. We'll get there. I'm not worried. The other thing is great news. We've done over 20,000 curbside orders, which is a lot. And it's taken the whole building to do that. That is, I don't know if I mentioned this, but part of reopening alternating days is that we've had such good response to curbside, but it's so staff intensive that we cannot do both of them at the same time. We don't have enough staff or workspaces to do both of them at the same time. If curbside really drops off, then we'll add more in-person days. And at some point, maybe we can assign 1 or 2 staff to do curbside. We'll see. I'm getting varying reports from other libraries about how curbside goes once you're open. Some people say people really still are using it, and some are saying it's falling off the cliff and they barely do it anymore. So we will keep track of that. And that's all I have for the library director report. Randy?
Just to follow up on you mentioned curbside. In the world of curbside today, or everything's delivered to your home, is there any, and I know you just mentioned how costly it is. Is there any thought that maybe you might move in that direction, or just to
home delivery, you mean?
Well, not necessarily home delivery, but what the curbside that you're doing now. If it's successful, is there a way to possibly move in that direction?
I think we could if we looked at something like pickup lockers. So I don't think our current model of just leaving items out would be a good idea with a lot of people coming in and out of the building. I mean, space-wise, but also theft-wise, I would worry about that. They do make pickup lockers. My last library had them. They were a great idea and kind of a disaster, but that was 10 years ago, so I'm sure things have improved. So it's sort of a model where you come up and type in your library card number and a door pops open and your holds are there. It is still kind of staff time intensive just because you have to load the lockers and there's only so many of them and that kind of thing. But it's certainly something, if we see that curbside really doesn't go away and the demand stays there, then we should probably look at something like that.
Yeah. But otherwise, it's the head count, it's the staff that is driving the cost, correct?
Yeah.
But I hadn't heard of the lockers. But,
yeah, they're kind of interesting.
Yeah. Okay. It was just something to consider. And,
yep, absolutely. All right, should we move on to committee reports?
If nothing else on library director report, we can move to item 10, committee reports.
I have nothing for strategic planning, but I have a couple of things for facilities. So I did reach out to the facilities committee to talk about meeting room table replacement. So this is something, we're 10 years old now. Those tables are used, I think, harder than any other piece of furniture we own. Every group that comes in has to get them out, set them up, put them away. They are not as user-friendly as I would like them to be. So I don't know if any of you ever had to use them, but there's a big metal bar on the back that you have to pull to flip the top up, which is how they all nest together in the closet for storage. And it's not, if you're not used to them, like it's kind of hard to tell how to do it. And people often put their foot on the leg when they think it's not working. And then the leg goes wonky and then the whole thing goes down and then the corner gets dented and it's laminate. So I did an inventory, got 30 tables, 22 of them have damage. So I think it's time to look into a new set. As I warned Randy and Ben, commercial furniture is horribly expensive. It is not like buying furniture for your house, but it needs to be sturdy enough to put up with daily use. And sometimes we have 3 or 4 groups in that room, so it's really a lot of use. We've priced out tables. We're looking at between $500 and $700 a table. So we're looking at probably $17,000 to $20,000 for a set of 30. We do have, we got a very generous donation last year of $5,000 that was matched by American Family. So we have $10,000 that was given to the Friends. The donor contacted me to see what projects I had in mind, and I gave a couple of options, but I think this is the one that we're going to go with. So that puts $10,000 toward the total. I had asked the Friends if they were interested in helping out because they are really the only group we have in the meeting room that needs 30 tables. If you're hosting a meeting with people sitting at them, you can really only use 25. Sounds to me like they are not interested. They were, I think, asking to come see if the tables were actually in good shape, which I don't really think is appropriate. So I think we'll probably just end up buying the entire set ourselves. But we've identified some tables that were recommended by the furniture consultant at South Central. And it turned out that they had them at the fire station on Sain. So we went over and took a look at them. And they've got this great system on the back where it's just 2 levers that you pull to flip it. I feel like anybody could look at it and know how to do it. So I feel like we'll have far less things being thrown on the ground. So that's what we're looking into. We're probably moving forward with that in the next couple of weeks. I think it's a good time to get them in. The old ones we will sell on surplus. So I don't think we'll get a lot of money for them because they're not in great shape, but I think that they will sell. So at least they're not going into a landfill. So that project is going on. Does anybody have questions about that? Okay. I have really good news to share about the PA system. So we were quoted $15,000 to replace it, and I just couldn't do it. We had the same vendor come out and just asked him if he could, like, for between $500 and $1,000, get it working, figure out what the problems were. And he did, and it was only $345. So it's working. It doesn't sound great. It's not perfect. He thinks that the system is overloaded because they put too many speakers in. And we do have a lot of places where there are more speakers than necessary. So in this conference room where I'm sitting, there were 2 speakers, and there clearly only needs to be 1. So Kevin actually took the other one out. And we're going to continue to do that around the building. So we'll make sure that we're leaving enough so that there's good coverage for any kind of an emergency announcement, but we can get the system kind of back onto a normal level. We already, like 5 years ago, bought a second box to handle the load of speakers. And even with that, it's overloaded. So whoever designed this and put it in did a terrible job. But I think we're going to be able to fix it without investing a whole lot of money. So that is very good news. I'm happy about that. Any questions about that? Okay, last thing on facilities. We have probably 14 security cameras in this building, and we have none on the front door, outside the front door. So I heard when I first started 10 years ago that they were supposed to have a camera out front, and they took it out for financial reasons. There have been a number of times that it would have been very helpful to have a camera there. We have had a couple of issues with curbside, but I'm thinking back to the day when someone came in with a crowbar and took the Friends donation box and yanked it off the wall and ran out the front door with it, and we did not have camera for the police to look at. When we ran the wiring for the external access point, we sort of got an idea of how easy it is to get a wire out there. So we asked that it's the same guy that worked on the PA system, what it would cost to run a wire out to, like, under the portico where curbside is happening right now. So he thinks he can run a wire out there. We'll have to run conduit across, like, the ceiling, and then do a 3-way camera that would show the front door out to the parking lot and then down to where the drive-through is. So it's probably going to run us $2,000 by the end of the project. I don't have a quote on the camera cost yet. But I think it's well worth it. I think it's something that shouldn't have been overlooked when it was. So if everybody's okay with that, I'm going to move forward with that. Randy?
Did you state that there was a camera initially?
In the plans.
Oh, in the
but
plan.
It was never wired, and it was never added.
Oh, it's never wired then. Okay.
So at some point they were trying to cut costs, I think, and left 6 cameras in the parking garage, but not 1 on the front door. I don't know why. Okay, so I'll move forward with that. And I don't have anything for personnel.
Shoot. Sorry, I was going to ask, does the door still have that locking problem that it had?
No, the doors are working pretty well. I will say I scanned the front door the other day and one side opened and the other didn't. but Kevin was standing there, and so he got to see the problem. So I think he's going to look into it a little bit, but for the most part, no, it's working just fine.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say, I knew that there were times when the door had not worked properly,
Yes.
so.
We've had a lot of problems with the doors. Knock on wood, not now. Excellent. That's all from me then.
All for item 10. So on to item 11, announcements. Next board meeting, Wednesday, April 21st, 5:30 via Zoom.
Excellent. Also, would anyone object if we kept the Zoom meetings going through the summer? Okay, great. We're not going to have the meeting room or the conference room in use in that time, so I think that we should count on meeting online. Great, thank you.
And then item 12 is adjournment, and we will need a motion to adjourn.
I'll motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, aye.
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 Opposed, no. All right, that's a wrap of our St. Patrick's Day edition of the